A little visit from Mile High Church. And yeah, you went there 30 years, yes. You may have seen the minister, your favorite guy, Roger Teal, was there dancing in the background. So, we have good news this morning. You ready? Yeah. A few weeks ago, the Shriners asked to have a meeting with Barry and I, and we have meetings with the Shriners actually, on a regular basis. This is the building that belongs to the Shriners, and they told us that after 20 years, they want to use this space for something else on Sunday mornings. And we had a really wonderful discussion with them because we have always had a good relationship with the Shriners, and they have always been super supportive and accommodating. And if you noticed that since we have been back from the pandemic and all of that, they did a lot of work on this building, and they are very much into making some funds for the Shriners, and that's a really good thing. And they can do that if they do more of that if they have this space on Sunday morning. So we told them, how grateful we have been and how grateful we are to them. And then we walked out the door, and Barry and I looked at each other and we said, this is the best thing that could happen. Are you ready to join us in that? Oh, you're not sure, huh? No, we are very excited. Here's the thing. When one door closes, another one opens. You've heard that? Sometimes the door needs to close for the other one to open, because we have certainly been comfortable here. But we have a greater vision for Unity of the Mojave Valley. And I'll tell you, we have a meeting with the city planner's office on Wednesday. We've got people coming to us saying, this is a possibility, and there are some really good possibilities out there. So we say that, yes, I would, hear. It is good news. We feel that way, and we hope that you'll join us, because that keeping the consciousness clear and on point and positive and visioning what it is that we would like for Unity Spiritual Center of the Mojave Valley is a very important part of this move. So our last month officially here is August, but that does not mean that if we find something good, we can't go before that. And they've been clear about that too. They support us either way. So please see that as the good that it is. Unity Spiritual Center of the Mojave Valley is supposed to be here in this area, and so we will continue to be here. A young woman went away to college in the fall, and she left her plants and her goldfish for her mother to take care of. And she was a little concerned because her mother could at times be forgetful. And sure enough, when she checked in a month later, her mother had to apologetically admit that the plants were dead. So a couple weeks later, she checks in again. She calls, and her mom admits that the goldfish has died. Well, now there's a long pause on the other end, and the girl says, "How's Dad?" Two men on a tandem bicycle. They're just working it strenuously up this very steep hill, and finally they get to the top, and they're panting and perspiring, and the guy in the front said, "Man, that was a stiff climb." And the guy in the back said, "It certainly was. And if I hadn't have kept the brake on, we would have rolled down backwards." We do put the brakes on sometimes when we're scared, when we're anxious, when we're fearful. I have an example of that. I always like to tell on myself on Sunday morning, so you know that I am very, very human. Yes, I'm also divine. So are you, human and divine. So we have this bingo that we play every Sunday afternoon right here in the same space. It's been really a wonderful, supportive fundraiser for Unity of the Mojave Valley. And we have a great time. We're not bingo players, but we like to run bingo. And so we really do have a good time. But let me tell you, there's a lot of paperwork involved. So there is a 2-page report that I fill out once a week. There's a monthly report, and there's quarterly tax filing to the state. So it's very regulated, as you can imagine. And back at the beginning of February, one of my weekly forms just wasn't coming out right. I mean, like by a big number, $300. And I started to get stressed out about that. And then, of course, every report is based on the one before. So now I'm getting behind. So now it's like, actually I got all the way through March, and I'm filling out these reports, but knowing that I can't complete them until I complete that one that's off. And I was avoiding it, guys. Do you ever do that? When you're like kind of stressed out, it's like, how could we be $300 off? What am I going to do? And I could never send that to the state. And finally I sat down the other day and I thought, you know what? It's about time you use principle, what it is that you talk about on Sunday mornings, to release the anxiety and the fear, and to know that there's an answer, to know that the answer is there. So I sat down. Barry can vouch for this. It was Friday night. Friday night, I sat down with all these papers, and I started going through that same one, and the numbers are adding up the same way. But then I had a thought to look back at the original receipts, where those numbers came from, and to re-add them. And don't you know, that's where the mistake was. It was there. It had to be there, right? That's what we know, and that's what we hold as we go forth with any struggle in our lives. We have to know that the answer is there. The truth is there. So the thing is, you know, this thing, fear, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, stress. Can you relate to stress? It affects all of us in different ways. And how many of you remember the movie Psycho? So Janet Leigh, she's the one who played that infamous shower scene. She was in the shower, and I'm not even going to go into the details. I don't think I ever saw it, actually, but that is it was an Alfred Hitchcock classic, okay? So she admits that after she saw herself in that scene, she was never really able to take a shower again in peace. So it wasn't the actual acting out of the scene, it was seeing it on film that affected her. And she talked about, I make sure if I go someplace and there's no other option, I can't take a bath, then, and I have to take a shower, I will lock the doors, all the doors and all the windows, and I will not close the curtain, and I will stare at, no matter which way the water's coming, I'm staring at the door. So bless her heart, she is long gone now, but you know, sometimes we don't recognize how our anxieties or our stress are impacting us. Charles Fillmore, many of you know, was the co-founder of Unity. And here's what he said. Fear is one of the most subtle and destructive errors that our mind experiences. So he's already identified it as an error of mind. Fear is a paralyzer of mental action. Do you hear that in my bingo reports? A mental paralyzer. It weakens both mind and body. Fear, and this is my favorite part, fear throws dust in our eyes and hides the mighty spiritual forces that are always with us. Do you know that? That there are mighty spiritual forces that are always with you? That's a powerful place to come from if we walk in this world knowing there are mighty spiritual forces all around us. So Fillmore goes on to say, blessed are those who release fear and affirm the presence and power of Spirit. So let's do this right now. Just take a moment just to still our bodies and breathe deep. And whatever may come to mind that's causing stress or fear, anxiety in your life, to mentally, consciously release. Maybe even silently, a statement of, I release the stress. I release this anxiety. And I affirm and know the presence and the power of Spirit within me and all around me. It really does have to be a conscious decision. For those of you who are familiar with the Bible, you may be familiar with how many times it is said in the Bible, either fear not or be not afraid. There's a song written about that one, Be Not Afraid. 103 times in the Bible there's a reference, either fear not or be not afraid. But you may have gotten hung up where it talks about God killing the babies and all that other stuff. I'm sorry, maybe it's not funny to some of you, but some of us are like, yeah, there's a little bit of a, confusion there. However, if we hold on to this idea and know that we are so much more than what we look like, we are so much more than these bodies that we call them earth suits that we go around in, then things like fear of rejection, does that one sit for you at all? Fear of failure, fear of looking foolish, fear of being hurt, fear of being alone, fear of intimacy. Any of these sitting for you? Fear of being taken advantage of, fear of change, fear of being criticized. How about fear of death? Someone said, no, I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens. Fear of not being in control. I have that. I can admit to that. I feel that I need to be in control. So I'm working on that one. Do you believe it? Those who work really close with me, like Mike and Don, sometimes. And Don takes care of all the sound, all this stuff, And Mike, obviously, is taking care of all the video. And then sometimes I'm getting in the middle of it. And all of a sudden I'll say, whoa, what, maybe I'll say that. And maybe I'll just keep getting in the middle of it. But at one point Mike said, yeah, I was wondering what you're doing. I'm what's called over-functioning. That's what I'm doing. I used to have a fear of heights. Anyone here? No fear in this room but me. Oh. Okay, a couple people want to admit it. So I was on top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. How many have done that? And you may know that at that height, the tower sways. So it's not bad enough that I'm experiencing the anxiety of that height, but then the darn thing is swaying too, moving. And then I took a trip to Sedona by myself. This has been years ago, but it was after the Eiffel Tower. And I was on a trail by myself. And I was just, it was like, it's a beautiful day. I'm on this trail, I'm hiking. And all of a sudden I looked down. And I was like, oh, it's a long ways down. But I had the presence of mind to say, no, I'm going to conquer this fear. And so I chose to breathe through it. I chose to ask myself, what is to fear? I've got steady feet. In fact, if you know me, you know I've got very big feet, which means I've got good understanding, right? And so I'm happy to say I don't have those panic attacks with height anymore. Sometimes what it is that creates anxiety and panic for us is just not looking at whatever it is. And so to look at it and become aware of it really takes the power away. Dennis the Menace was frightened one night by a thunderstorm. So he climbed into bed with his mother and father and said, I wouldn't be afraid if I could keep my mind off my thoughts. It's true, isn't it? The mind can be a scary place. I love that in the Bible, and here's, I'm going to share just a little bit of my belief, and you know that whenever we're sharing beliefs up here, we don't expect that that's something that you are taking on or need to take on or believe. You take what you want and you leave the rest here. But I happen to believe that this book, this study, this gift called A Course in Miracles that came through a woman back in the 50s now, was it the 50s? And as the voice of Jesus, or we might just say here, the Christ consciousness, was really a way of moving on, incorporating, of course, what we know that is healing and peaceful and loving about the Bible, and yet going further, that we can go further. We can understand from A Course in Miracles that there really is only fear or love. And so if we're feeling fear, we need to step back into love. How do we do that? How do you do that? Think of someone you love. Think of that divine presence that we talk about on Sunday mornings that is within you and everywhere. And then, I guess it's been about 20 years ago now, A Course of Love came into manifestation as well, as a similar sort of circumstances where a woman was hearing the voice of Jesus. And so what I love about A Course of Love is that message of fear not turns into think not. In ACOL, in A Course of Love, you will find Jesus saying, think not. Because really, when we start to get caught up in our heads and we start making stories to fill in the spaces that we don't know, we don't understand, and so we make up the stories in our minds, and then where are we? We're depressed, we're angry, we're stressed, we're fearful. And so think not. Fear not becomes think not. I love that. So there's this book called Scared to Life. It was written by Douglas Rumford. And in the book, he cites a study that indicates that 60% of our fears are totally unfounded. Would you agree with that? Stuff that you thought that was so awful that was going to happen, or that somebody was thinking about you or saying about you, and you find out it's not true. 20% are already behind us. 10% are so petty they don't make a difference. 4 to 5% of the remaining 10% are real, but we can't do anything about them. So that last 5% are the real fears that we could actually do something about. It's pretty powerful. I think about a time I was a young woman living on my own in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was having headaches and I was dizzy, and I decided to see the doctor about it. The doctor said, let's get an MRI of your brain. And so I remember getting really anxious about this, really scared of what might be going on in my brain and what might come on this MRI. And then those MRIs are really scary anyway, aren't they? Got to slide into that dark hole and then bang, 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 bang. Anyway, so I'm going into this hole almost in a panic, almost having a panic attack, when I remembered that everything is unfolding in perfect order. That there is no spot where this thing that we call God or spirit or life, there is no spot where God is not. The youth in Unity like to say that. There is no spot where God is not. And so I found that sense of peace that came over me. And to this day, I don't know whether that was a healing moment and I had something and it was healed, or simply that I didn't have anything, but I found a sense of peace with whatever the outcome was going to be. Have you had an experience like that where you could let go? Reinhold Niebuhr, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He was a famous theologian. He wrote this prayer. You may not recognize his name, but you will recognize this prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Did you know that there's more? Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as the pathway to peace, taking this world as it is, not as I would have it be. All right, so I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit this morning. So I talked about A Course in Miracles, a study, and A Course of Love. And the very foundational principle or belief that comes out of A Course in Miracles is that this life that we live in these physical bodies is not what is really real. We might call it an illusion, or we might call it a dream, whatever. And then some of us say, what, are you insane? I can't believe you believe that. This feels very real. It does feel real, doesn't it? Especially that pain in my back. Again, take what you want and leave the rest. But even the Buddhists say, this is impermanent. And you can't have impermanent without something being permanent. What is it that's permanent? Everything that we can't see. Everything that we see with our eyes is impermanent, or an illusion, or a dream. And so that of us, which was before this body, which will be after this body, is what is permanent and continues. So from Alan Dollett, he says, this is a dream, period. This idea of a separation from God or spirit never occurred, period. Wake up. Wake up. Nothing you do can change reality. Stop trying. You are not here to change the world or your brother, but to wake up from this dream. All the figures in your dream are there at your request to help you wake up. Bless every figure in your dream. Forget the world. Just focus on waking up. If you see or think about something that pushes your buttons, say, thank you. Because if you think something is happening, you are believing in separation. Let everything pleasant or unpleasant be a reminder to remember God. See it in everything. Everything and everyone are your master teachers. Bless your teachers. Remember, we are all in the same boat. So I'd like, before we close, I'd like to just make 3 points about what we can do to come out of that cycle of fear, anxiety, stress. And one is awareness. It all starts with awareness. Can you think about what you're thinking about? Can you realize what it is that you're thinking about? Wake up to what we are thinking about. Realize, this is number 2, realize that we're making up stories at times that aren't true. And then thirdly, letting the thoughts go by. In Zen Buddhism, and they talk about, just see it as a train of thoughts. And they're coming into your mind, and you can let them go right on, choo-choo by. So I will close with a quote from Sivananda. This is actually the first time I've heard of Sivananda, but there are a lot of Anandas out there, if you hadn't noticed. But first, the Buddha said, meditation on love is the best armor. Wow, sometimes we do feel like we have to put on armor, don't we? So before we do that, let's meditate on love. Sivananda said, this world is your best teacher. There is a lesson in everything. There is a lesson in each experience. Learn it and become wise. Every failure is a stepping stone to success. Every difficulty or disappointment is a trial of your faith. Every unpleasant incident or temptation is a test of your inner strength. March forward, heroes. March forward, heroes. And so it is. Bless you, bless you. So let us have a period of meditation, just a short 5-10 minutes of taking what we want from this message and integrating it, leaving what we don't want behind. And so once again, we are breathing in and breathing out once or twice or 3 times deeply, whatever it takes to invite your body once again to just fully relax. Sometimes we don't even realize that there are points of tension where we are holding our muscles tight. And that would be as a response to our thoughts and stress, fear, anxiety. I know that for me it helps to know that I am indestructible. Do whatever you want with my body, my beingness is indestructible. And I invite you into that truth this morning, that awareness again, that you were here before this body, you will continue beyond it. Wow. I'm so grateful to know that. I'm grateful to know it about myself and about you. Because very likely we knew each other before these bodies, these lifetimes. Some souls travel in groups. Did you know you're with your soul group this morning? So when the tension rises, when the anxiety, when the fear rises, we say, fear not. Or even better, think not. Come out of the mind and back into the heart. Breathe. Breathe and go to the heart. Where wisdom and love reign together. Divine wisdom, divine love. It's a great power that you have. To have this wisdom, to have this understanding, to have the will to bring it forth in difficult situations, even if it's just challenges with your own thoughts. And so we release whatever may be creating stress in this moment or in your life in general, we consciously release it and affirm wholeness, divine order, peace, and even joy. And so now, as you turn your attention once again back to this bright room, this bright space, as we enjoy a little bit of music. This song is written by Peter Mayer, and this is another song that is